You know, it's pretty crazy, but I've never regretted buying Bitcoin. I've regretted not buying Bitcoin or not buying more Bitcoin during dips and things like this, but I've never regretted buying Bitcoin. And I've watched it go up, I've watched it go down, I've watched all kinds of craziness go on with my Bitcoin investment over the years. But when you understand the whys behind buying Bitcoin, the whole journey becomes so much easier for you. And today marked the 50th anniversary of one of the big whys of buying Bitcoin. So I'll talk about that in today's video. Also, a quick update on the infrastructure bill, some interesting mining news out of the United States, as well as some interesting on-chain data to take a quick look at. My name's Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing, so if that is a topic that you would like to learn some more about, make sure you're a subscriber to the Lark Davis channel. You may also want to consider gently tapping on the thumbs up button if you enjoy this video, and of course click on the notification bell if you want to get a notification when I put out a new video. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the charts here, see what the heck is going on. Now Bitcoin has managed, let's reset this here, Bitcoin has managed to hold above the 200-day simple moving average. That's the dark orange line on the chart here. So we see we did have our initial breakout, came back down, bounced back up. We had another test here of this line as support, pushing a bit higher now. We also had our crossover here on the daily for the exponential moving averages. That's the 50-day exponential moving average crossing over the 200-day exponential moving average. So that's all looking really good. Moving averages are lining up very nicely for us. We've got a golden cross here. We've managed to maintain above the 200-day simple moving average as a line of support. That's our bull bear line. This is showing the market's becoming very, very bullish again. Now, one thing just to keep under consideration short term is we are in a rising wedge pattern right now for Bitcoin. So that could see the price going up here to probably test $50,000 and potentially get rejected, coming back down, maybe to test $45,000 again as support, maybe even falling below that briefly. Now, something I find I just got to get across here to people who are listening is that it's okay for price action to go down sometimes. That doesn't mean that I've become a bear on Bitcoin. Not at all. When I say, hey guys, look, anticipate that there will be a 10 or 20% pullback at some point. That's not me being bearish on Bitcoin. That's me saying, hey, there might be a better buying opportunity coming up than buying the top on this particular, run, for example. And look, Bitcoin's going to hundreds of thousands of dollars, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, you're better off buying for that long-term stack when things are dipping versus when they're pumping like crazy. So that's why we talk about these potential bearish things that are coming up. And it's not to say that we're going to go into a 3-year bear market and everything's going to go down by 95%. If I say, hey, look, the breakdown target, by the way, from this rising wedge pattern, it is around $45,000. And if that happens, that's okay. That's okay. You can buy that dip. Bitcoin's going to be okay. Lark has not turned into a bear. So you just need to understand that when we were talking about these things, this is about short-term price action, the potential to get a better entry point into an asset. I am a macro bull on Bitcoin. Don't ever get that confused. If I'm talking about the bad news happening with the infrastructure bill or something like that, it doesn't mean I've become a bear. It doesn't mean I'm trying to scare you into selling your Bitcoin. It just means we're talking about the news. And the news isn't good, but that doesn't mean the crypto markets are ending or the Bitcoin is over or anything like that. So, I know I've seen from the comments section, some of you guys are a little bit excited about this stuff, so I just want to make that very clear here for you. Now, one thing we do, let's throw some volume up here before we turn over to the weekly charts, because we did just have, of course, our weekly close here for Bitcoin. Let's just have a quick look at the volume here. So, again, we are also seeing this situation where we've had the price rising and rising and rising and rising and rising and rising, and the volume's been falling. Now, generally, You want to see some stronger volume coming in here, which again says that short term we could see a correction coming in for the markets. Because when we have the price rising, the volume falling, that means we're not getting as many buyers stepping up here in this zone. In fact, probably have more people, the short-term traders and stuff like that, actually, selling the Bitcoin. Long-term holders are continuing, of course, to stack up those sweet, sweet Satoshis. Now let's have a look here at the RSI just quickly before we move on to the weekly as well. Just have a quick little glimpse of that. So you can see, once again, we are in this situation where what is happening? We are getting consistently lower highs on the RSI. We had our big peak here, had a lower high here, and another lower high here. We'll see what happens coming up here in the next few days. But again, we are getting higher price, higher price, higher price, falling RSI. Again, this is a classic bearish divergence, meaning, once again, you may get a price that's better than today's price in terms of buying coming up in the not so distant future. Although the market has been very, very bullish with all this craziness going on with the NFTs and everything that's been cracking across the space over the last few weeks. But this is something for you to keep in mind. Now let's have a look at the 1 week charts. Let's get the RSI off here. Put this back on scale so we can see we've had a nice breakout here. We'll just put this across here. This was our key line of resistance back here. So that was a very important area when we finally cracked over $40,000. That was very, very key resistance. You see, there's big resistance here, big resistance here. We've come back up over that. Price is now trending much higher. Obviously, this is a great thing. We can see these support levels right in here, here, and here. We also are able to maintain that amongst the previous weekly candle there. So been doing pretty good with our price action. We also, I'd like to show you this. This is, I think, because when we start talking about the weekly, we were just talking about the daily, right? So you can have a lot happen in the day-to-day that doesn't necessarily change dramatically what's happening in the big picture for an asset, which is why it's nice to actually have this look at the weekly charts from time to time, just to get that bigger feel for what the heck is happening. Now this is the MACD. So we just had a bullish crossover right here, a bullish crossover on the weekly MACD. I think that's great. Personally, I think that's a very bullish sign at a higher time frame here for Bitcoin. So you can see the last time we had a bullish crossover like that, the price was much, much lower. This was back in October 2020. It was the last time we had a bullish crossover on the weekly for Bitcoin. So that could be setting us up for a new run on the price. So that's a good thing to see. So let's keep our eyes on that. Obviously, we'll check in next week at the week close to see how all of this has progressed. But in general, the bigger time frames are looking very nice at the moment for Bitcoin. Now, if you want to trade some Bitcoin, maybe you want to trade some Ethereum, some Dogecoin, whatever your fancy might be, you need to get yourself an account over on Bybit. It is the best exchange for trading futures, for longing, for shorting. They also have a great spot market with 0% fees for makers. And you can actually get up to $1,600 in trading bonuses by using the link down below in the description to start your account. So there's $600 in bonuses for doing things like making your first deposits, making your first trades, and there's up to $1,000 in deposit bonuses. So if you deposit 1 Bitcoin, you will get a $1,000 bonus. If you deposit half a Bitcoin, you get a $500 bonus, and so on and so forth. So if you are a trader, then go ahead and check that out using the link in the description. Now let's get into the news. This I thought was some really great news I wanted to share with you because it shows a massive geopolitical shift in Bitcoin. This is from Documenting Bitcoin. They said, for the first time in history, a North American Bitcoin mining pool has mined more blocks in a single day than any other pool in the world. That's, of course, Foundry USA, which did 12.94% of the total Bitcoin mined. Massive, massive news. Because only a year ago, the total hash rate in the United States was like a quarter of what it is right now. And if you go back 2 years, it was like a 20th of what it is right now. The US mining industry has ramped up its game big time over the last few months. And of course, what have we seen? We've seen China pushing an industry out of the country, and the US ready to absorb that industry. Texas has been a big destination for Chinese Bitcoin miners. We also have a lot of capacity in other places. El Salvador is, of course, launching their volcano-powered Bitcoin mines in the not-so-distant future. Paraguay has a lot of unused potential hydropower that could be powering at least some of the Bitcoin network. Quebec in Canada, they actually shared a post, I think it was Bitcoin Magazine or Documenting Bitcoin, one of these guys, but literally Quebec has enough unused hydro potential that they could power the entire Bitcoin network on 100% renewables in Canada. Just requires miners to move there. And of course, the prices to be competitive enough to get the miners to move over there, which potentially might be the equation why they're moving to other places. But still, this is a big geopolitical event. This is a big moment in history for a U.S. mining pool to now be outstripping Chinese mining pools. And look, these mining pools receive their hash power from all over the world, but they are Chinese corporation-owned pools, right? So not Chinese government-owned. They're owned by companies based in China, but still, it's a big move to see North America, the United States, finally getting, in terms of, market share ahead here in the Bitcoin game. So that's pretty exciting to see. Now, next up, this is some on-chain data from Willy Woo. He said the capital stored in the Bitcoin network just broke a new all-time high. Nice. Bitcoin realized cap has hit a new all-time high. Now, what does that mean? It means that the price paid for every coin in Bitcoin's circulating supply is now at an all-time high. So there's actually now more money in the Bitcoin network today, when we're still $20,000 below the all-time high price, than there was when Bitcoin was at its all-time high price, because so much more money flooded into the market during this recent market dip. Very, very interesting stuff right there. So that's exciting to see. I'm super blown away by how bullish Bitcoin has been over the last few weeks, because we went through this period where everybody was saying Bitcoin's going down to $10,000. It's all over. And here we go. Realized cap has just hit a new all-time high. That does not sound bearish to me anyway. Here's some updates for you real quick on the infrastructure bill. So the IRS has come out. This is according to an unnamed official from the Treasury. Anyway, they came out and said that they're not going to go after cryptocurrency firms that don't meet the tax code's definition of a broker. Now, that broker language is one of the most important parts of the infrastructure bill. There's also some monitoring stuff in there, but particularly the broker stuff would mean that developers would have to get broker licenses, that stakers would have to get broker licenses, that home miners would have to get broker licenses, and potentially even people doing peer-to-peer transactions. So it would be a big setback for the U.S. cryptocurrency industry, and that does not mean it's going to kill crypto. No legislation is going to kill crypto. And if you think that's the case, I would recommend going back and reading a bit more about what you've invested in, because that's not how crypto works. But it could certainly make it a lot harder for the average user if they put these kind of tax policies through. Now, that being said, they are now coming out and saying that, look, we understand the concerns around the language that was put forward in the bill. This, of course, the bill that's now passed the Senate. It's going over to the House. They're going to be debating in the House. We've had a Nancy Pelosi ally come out saying, look, we need to seriously rework this language here in the infrastructure bill in regards to crypto. We need to make sure that we get this right. So the Treasury Department, they have not gone public yet with what they're going to be. Remember, we only have an unnamed official who's come out and said, we're looking at it again. But essentially, what we're looking at here is that there could be a workaround by limiting the bill's scope to those who are already classified as brokers under the tax code, so not expanding it out to capture these participants in the cryptocurrency networks who would then also become brokers. So the companies like, Kraken or Coinbase, they can deal with the broker stuff. They have the capability to enact compliance and all that stuff, but your average users do not have the capabilities to do that. So talk is cheap. I'll say that. Talk is cheap. Let's see some actual worded letters, some actual policy coming forward here from the Treasury Department. Let's see some actual guidance to say, hey, look, we should actually do this. This would be our recommendations for this infrastructure bill. Obviously, we've had a lot of very intelligent people in the USA, senators coming out with some very common sense legislation that would actually help the cryptocurrency industry quite a bit. And even if you have the Treasury saying, hey, look, it's okay, you can just pass the bill as is. We're not going to use it for the things that are written in the bill. I don't trust those guys. You shouldn't trust those guys either. I mean, come on. How many times does the government need to lie to you to make you not trust them? Let's actually have the real wording put in the bill, not the, hey, let's put that wording through and trust us. We're not going to do anything about it. It'll all be fine later. No. Let's see if the fight really gets taken to the House in a meaningful way, and hopefully some members of the House can actually step up here and either get it out of the bill, which, not actually the best option potentially, but really reform it and get the proper wording codified into fricking law. That would be the ideal situation, obviously. But the story does continue, and I will keep you updated on this as we get more twists and turns in the U.S. infrastructure bill story. Now, as mentioned, there's a reason why when I buy Bitcoin and I have no regrets about that fact. And that is because of what happens to fiat currency over time. Dollars are a tool. Dollars are not a way to store your wealth long term. This is why many of the world's richest people, they have loads of money in the stock market, they have loads of money in the property markets, and everywhere else they don't have just giant mountains of cash sitting in their swimming pools, right? Scrooge McDuck style. Because they know what happens to those dollars. So what's been trending on Twitter is WTF happened in 1971, which is when Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard. It's the 50th anniversary of that happening. So you can see what has happened to the dollar since 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created. A dollar was worth a dollar back then. Now within 20 years, a dollar was down significantly. This is when FDR ordered that it's illegal to hold gold or gold coins, gold bullion, or gold certificates, which that's some governmental overreach if I ever saw it. Holy cow, man. Then, of course, 1944, Bretton Woods came in. Now, Bretton Woods, this was a very important economic and political event, which was a meeting that essentially put the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. That was nice of them to do. I'm sure America really appreciated that. Then 1971, Nixon took the dollar off of the gold standard and created our modern fiat system of the, hey, don't worry, trust us, we're good for it standard of money. Because that's all that backs that dollar in your wallet. Just the government saying, hey, it's cool, we're good for it, don't worry. But are they really? Because a lot of governments over time have proved that they're not good for it. Look at the history of fiat currencies. They just go down, 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 down. Some of them obviously collapse dramatically overnight. Not saying that's going to happen to the US dollar. It's obviously the big daddy of the fiat currencies. More just a slow decline into complete obsolescence. That's what's going to happen to your savings if you keep it sitting in dollars. Holy cow. Here's an interesting one here. So if in this scenario, my dad had taken $1,000 when I was born, put it under, the bed in an envelope and said, I'm going to give that to you, 36 years from now, Lark. Okay, great, Dad. That's great. So today's the day he gives it to me. Well, guess what? Those $1,000 from 36 years ago, they buy a heck of a lot less than they did back then. Now, the number on the piece of paper is still the same, but that same item, so let's say I want to go out and buy, if Dad had bought me something that cost $1,000 back then, well, that same item would now cost $2,537. So there's a cumulatively been an inflation rate of 153.7% on the US dollar since I've been born. Come on, man, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Death by 1,000 cuts. The slow bleed of fiat currencies. We can also see this one here. I'll just get myself off the screen real quick so you can see that. So this is growth in productivity and hourly compensation since 1948. So you can see here, this is where the USA went off of the gold standard. Compensation levels, they've gone up not very much since the 1970s, although productivity has gone up dramatically. So wages are not keeping pace with inflation, which is, of course, no surprise to anybody who has been watching anything going on economically for the last few decades. And this is why every single Bitcoin purchase I've made, no regrets. No regrets. It is my digital gold. I got a few pieces of the shiny rocks laying around here too, shiny metal, but Bitcoin, man, it just feels good. It feels right when you understand what the eventuality of fiat currencies is. And just look at the last year, look at the inflation, look at the economic insanity with the negative rates and the trillions printed and the debt. The debt, my goodness, the debt. I can't imagine if you or I were to go and say, hey, look, I know I've been in debt for the last 30 years, and I have never been able to pay that debt, but I would like to have another couple $1 trillion of credit loans, maybe. Could do that, yeah. No way in heck a bank would tell you yes, but because it's a country, they just get to keep racking up the debt and racking up the debt. I think the U.S. is now past $28 trillion in debt. That's never getting paid. That's never getting paid, man. That's generations of debt slavery for an entire country. Yeah. But some people still wonder, well, why would I buy and hold Bitcoin? When you start to understand what Bitcoin is, you start to understand the bigger picture for Bitcoin, why Bitcoin was created. Look back to the first block of Bitcoin. What did Satoshi stick in that block? He sticked in a news article that said, Chancellor on the brink of a second bailout. Now, obviously, he was, capturing the moment, but as a very important economic message as well, because this is what governments do. They debase the money, and you have no say over it. You have no say over what? You want to elect a different political party? You think they're going to change anything? They're not going to change anything, man. These guys are moving around deck chairs in the Titanic economically, and you have the option to get yourself a life raft. And that life raft from fiat is called Bitcoin. And this is why I have no regrets of any of the Bitcoin I've ever bought. And I'm happily holding my Bitcoin. It goes up, it goes down. Whatever. It's all good. It's all good. I'm happy riding those waves. Anyway, your question for today. Do you agree with my thesis on holding Bitcoin, that it's just a heck of a lot better than holding on to dollars? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.